Hello everyone, welcome to Jorden and Sky Learning Lab, and today we are going to discuss about TDS. TDS was introduced in 2004 with principle of pay as you earn. The concept says that tax collected from the very source of income. As per this concept, a person, deductor, who is liable to make payment to any other person shall deduct tax at source and remit the same to the central government. So basically, if a deductor is liable to make payment to deductee has to deduct tax and pay it to the government. The deductee from whose tax has been deducted would be entitled to get credit on the basis of Form 26AS or TDS certificate. Let's understand with an example how basically TDS work in a real life situation. Sahil has a savings of INR 5 lakhs and he goes to ICICI Bank to make a fixed deposit for a period of 12 months. Okay, so you get a attractive rate of return of 10%. So the total return expectation of Sahil is 50,000. Okay, at the end of 12th month, bank transfers Sahil 5 lakh plus 45,000, that is 5 lakh 45,000 instead of 5 lakh 50,000. So what is the missing 5,000? So that is the TDS which bank deduct and transfer it to the government. As TDS says that it has to be deducted at the source of revenue generation. So TDS has been deducted once the revenue has been generated. Bank will issue TDS certificate to Sahil and Sahil can adjust the same with his tax liability. Let's take one more example. Okay, so Raj Limited makes payment of 50,000 towards professional fees to Mr. Shah. Raj Limited should deduct tax of 5,000 because on professional fees you have to deduct tax at 10% and make a net payment of 45,000. So 50,000 minus 5,000 to Mr. Shah. The amount of 5,000 which Raj Limited has deducted will be directly deposited to the credit to the government and Mr. Shah can claim the same with his tax liability. TDS is applicable on various sources of income such as salaries, interest, commission, dividend, professional fees, and etc. However, TDS is not applicable to all income and person or transactions. There are different rates for TDS been described by various sections of the Act. It depends purely on the nature and the type of payment. So let's see what is the basic, how is the TDS, so what is the TDS chart and what are the ways TDS has been deducted. So this is not very exhaustive list. You can refer the income tax website to go through the detailed list of TDS chart. This is just for a reference. So if you see, so if you're earning interest, which is 194A, I'll just, okay. So if you're earning interest, which is under 194A, so if you're earning 40,000, if you're earning anything below 40,000, bank is not liable to deduct any TDS. But suppose if you're earning 41,000, bank will deduct TDS at 7.5% on the entire amount. Okay. So for that, we need to understand what is a threshold. Threshold is a limit below which you're not liable to deduct any TDS. So let's take one more example. So if you remember example of Mr. Shah and Mr. Raj, the professional fees, the professional fees was below 30,000, that suppose professional fees was only 25,000, then no TDS would be deducted. But however, the professional fees were more than 30,000, TDS will be deducted on the entire amount. Okay, so this is the revised rate been issued by the government on May 14th of 2020 due to pandemic, and it has to just improve the liquidity into the system. So applicability of TDS. TDS is only applicable above a threshold limit. As we have discussed in a previous slide, if income is below the threshold limit, TDS is not applicable. And different threshold limits are specified by the income tax department. For lottery, it's different. For income from bank deposits, it's a different. For senior citizen, it's different. Professional fees, contractor fees, there are different rates been defined and different thresholds have been defined. Just take an example which we have discussed. They have no TDS on interest if its income on FD is less than 40,000. For senior citizen, it's a 50,000. Now, how to avoid TDS? This is the question which a lot of my client ask. So this is the way you can avoid. If a person expects his total income in a financial year below an exemption limits, he can ask the payer not to deduct TDS by submitting Form 15G and Form 15H. Also, the most important point to be noted out here is deductee is required to provide his PAN details to avoid taxation at a higher rate. There are few misconceptions which are rolling around for the new taxpayers about the TDS. I would like to clarify a few of them. Most of the senior citizens submit Form 15H to avoid TDS. In many cases, senior citizens feel if they have done this, they are not liable to pay taxes. But if you have 2 or 3 fixed deposits in a separate banks, so like you have a fixed deposit in ICICI, SBI, your Kotak Bank, and you submit a Form 15G or 15H in all the banks, they will not deduct the TDS on your declaration. But ultimately, when you file your income tax return, you will have to pay taxes on the same if it's above your taxable limit. The next misconception is if the employer has deducted TDS, you don't need to file your income tax return. That's completely false. Employer deducts the TDS only on your salary income, and if you have any other income, you will still have to file your income tax return and pay income tax on the same. No TDS means no tax liability. That's completely not true. There are few cases, or if your income is below threshold limits, TDS will not be deducted, but you still will have to pay a tax if your total income exceeds your certain threshold limit. Okay. Due to ignorance or misconception, many individuals follow some tax saving approaches which are completely illegal. They fail to pay tax on certain income which are genuinely taxable. So this is not a tax saving, but it's a tax evasion. It can be very risky. So my only advice is you should consult your advisor before taking any concrete action with respect to your TDS or a tax payment. Let's take a few examples to understand TDS in more detail. Is TDS deducted at the same rate from all types of income? No. TDS rates are different for different kind of payments and different kind of nature of your income. Just an example, professional fees, the TDS rates are different. You're winning from lotteries, the TDS rates are different. Who are deductor and deductee? The person who deducts tax is called as a deductor, and the person who receives the payment post deduction is called as a deductee. So if you remember our example of bank was a deductor, and you who has received the interest income, or Mr. Sahil, is the deductee. How can I check if TDS is deposited to the government? Once the TDS is deposited with the government, it will be reflected in your Form 26 AS, and which you can extract from your income tax website. Also, you should obviously ask for TDS certificate from the deductor. Rate at which TDS on salary is deducted. TDS on salary is deducted at the income tax rate applicable to one's income. Suppose you are under a tax slab of 10%, TDS will be deducted on that rate. And suppose if you are on tax slab of 30%, TDS will be deducted accordingly. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for your time, and I hope you like this video about TDS. Do mention in a comment box below if you have any questions. We are happy to assist you. Do follow us on our social media pages. Thank you for your love. Thank you very much.